You didn't see Captain America Brave New World.
No, I haven't seen a Marvel film since Endgame.
You haven't missed much.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
No, that's not true. You saw Guardians 3 and you loved it.
No, 2.
But you didn't see the third one?
No.
Oh, it's so good.
Is it really? Yeah, I haven't gotten around to it.
I love it. I mean, you would probably pull out of your ass a negative opinion.
You never know. You never know. I'm a wild card, baby.
It's a lovely movie. It's it pitches the whole narrative up to that point to become it's like Rocket was the main character of the series. That's kind of where they go with it.
Oh, neat.
And they flesh out his whole backstory, and then they incapacitate. So you get to see all these flashbacks with Rocket while they incapacitate him. You know, he's like injured early in the film. And the whole movie becomes about that crew coming together to save this friend. It's really about his growth, ultimately. And it's a beautiful film.
Oh, nice.
I think. Like, I mean, maybe James Gunn is just like filled with talent, and you know, his Superman movie will work even better or something. But I suspect it's James Gunn's masterpiece, Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Wow.
At least for me.
Well, I really liked Guardians 2. And so if it's better than that, holy shit.
Yeah, and if you've seen Endgame, you should be all cut up in the Guardians, so you should be good.
Yeah, I guess Endgame, you know, the thing to know is that Gamora is not the Gamora that he fell in love with.
Right. And I thought that was an interesting idea. Like he remembers her as this person he loves, and it's the same person, but she doesn't have any memories of him. So can you make that lightning strike twice? It's an interesting question. So, yeah. And,
you know, and this, you know, spoilers, but this movie is about kind of letting go of her. Because that ain't the person that you fell in love with.
Wow.
You know? Yeah.
I'm going to watch this.
It's good. It's very,
Yeah,
very
you should.
Good. Yeah. It's like, it's got to be like a top 3 Marvel film for me.
Nice.
I mean, it's probably the best one, honestly.
It's definitely the best of this whole phase, or what these 2 phases that have been since Endgame. And I guess Kevin Feige's he's not even using the term phases anymore. He's retiring the phase.
Wants to fight. Oh my God, what a shot!
I'm surprised he's not retiring, period.
There's a rumor that Feige's plan had always been to stop being Feige on Marvel, like after Endgame. And the plan was to pass it off to James Gunn.
Right.
Oh.
And then he got canceled for old tweets.
Bullshit. Total fucking bullshit.
So you're like, way to go, Disney.
And now he's working with the competition and making more money than they are.
And, you know, he talks about, he's like, that was a point in my life where I was, you know, like very, very low. I thought probably my career was completely over. I was completely done. Isn't it incredible that like you can go from that level of low to like, I own Hollywood now?
Well, at that point, Gunn had a tremendous amount of capital in the way of talent and you know, bringing in audiences from a completely unknown IP. A lot of people don't know this. Before James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy film, nobody had ever heard of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Not even the hipsters.
Right, not even the hipsters. And now there isn't a soul on Earth that hasn't heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And Gunn did that. That was all him. So, yeah.
And he made Chris Pratt a movie star. Like Chris Pratt, everyone's sick of Chris Pratt, but he's a fucking movie star.
That's right. The reason he gets cast in everything from Jurassic Park to Super Mario is because of that role. And so, like, when you fired that kind of a talent, he's going to get snatched up by someone. And it just so happened that was their biggest competition in that field. So yeah, that was a big fumble on their part.
And they told him, like, we would like you to direct anything you'd like. That was their initial pitch. They were like, what, you know, they said there's some movies we'd like you. At the time, it was Superman. They were like, we'd like for you to do a Superman movie, but you can do anything you want. And his answer was Suicide Squad. And they're like, well, we kind of just did one. And they were like, all right, you can do that. What, like, we just want you to make movies with us.
I think the Suicide Squad thing is hilarious because that first Suicide Squad was studio hacked. I didn't hate the first Suicide Squad, by the way. I thought it was an okay.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it was I didn't think it was much better or much worse than anything Marvel had been putting out at that point. It was another okay superhero film.
Except for the fact that you could see that there was probably a little bit better of a movie in there before the studio fucked with it.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
You could tell that there was like, oh, they made this snappier and faster.
Yeah, and then the studio said, make this more like a James Gunn film.
Deadpool opened, and then they never tested Batman versus Superman. And they were expecting a different result, and then they got hammered by all the critics. And then it's like, okay, we're going to turn David Ayer's dark, soulful movie into a fucking comedy now. That shit broke me.
And then I think it's just so funny that James Gunn was like, can I just make that for you? And they're like, oh, thank God, you're the one we wanted in the first place.
That's what we wanted to do in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of making things snappier and faster, the rumor is this: Captain America 4, right? And this is really a sequel to The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the TV show. So, right. So at the end of Endgame, Chris Evans grows old, hands the shield off to Sam Wilson. And then Sam Wilson had in a decent TV show, like in the scheme of things. I remember I wasn't super thrilled with it at the time, but compared to what they've been putting out, it's a pretty strong TV show. There's a through line. There's a story. There's some growth.
Baron Zemo's cool,
Yeah, it's got Zemo in it, and and Bucky is cool throughout, and he's got his own little through line. It's a decent little show, and also because you don't have an action scene for every 10 minutes like a movie does. There's a little more time to grow these characters. One of the things that's interesting about that show was they reveal for the first time that the Avengers are not necessarily wealthy. Like Sam Wilson is broke actually, and he just fought Thanos. and he's broke.
Interesting.
And he's trying to rehabilitate a boat for his sister's business. That's what he's busy with. So anyway, the rumor was that this movie had been reshot several times, and that Marvel was continuously dumping money into it to salvage it, that they accidentally made another terrible film, but this time they didn't want to release a bad Captain America movie. So they just kept chasing dollar after dollar to try to fix it. And then recently the director came out and was like, that's not true. We did one round of reshoots, as is ordinary.
Yeah, well, he didn't say one round. He said we did a period of time of reshoots, as you do with these films, which means nothing in Marvel terms because they reshoot these things all the time.
I think what was specifically different about this process was that we ran into a strike. But we only did one period of additional photography, which is the same on all of these movies. And it's just the part of filmmaking at this scale. And it's really as a benefit to the audience to make this the best movie it can be.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit.
And the reported budget ballooned up to 500 mil or something like that.
Jeez.
But they said recently that Vulture or somebody was it was only 180 million, and now everybody's quoting that. So that line is out that's only 100 million. It was 100 million. But it's, if you believe that 180 million, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn because
that's nonsense.
Yeah, that's.
But so here's what you might find interesting about it, Dan. It ain't it's really not a sequel to the properties I just named. You want to know what it's a sequel to?
What's that?
It's a sequel to The Incredible Hulk 2008.
yeah.
What?
And I'm not even fucking with you. I'm not exaggerating. It is.
Holy
So here's
shit.
how. One of the main characters is Thunderbolt Ross. He played a military guy in the original film. He was played by William Hurt. William Hurt, appeared in Marvel films after that. He was the Sokovian Accords guy.
Oh yeah.
In Civil War.
Yeah.
He showed up again, but he died. And so Harrison Ford plays that character, which is already a little confusing because generally, with the exception of, I guess, the Hulk himself, generally the actor continuity is pretty good in these things. But yeah, they recasted him, and you probably don't remember this. Liv Tyler was in that 2008 Edward Norton movie.
Don't remember.
Yeah, who could possibly? Jennifer Connelly was in the Ang Lee one. I mean, I get them all mixed up. But Liv Tyler, spoilers. She makes an appearance in this movie.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because there's a thing about his daughter. He wants to be a good man for his daughter. And so first, you hear Liv Tyler on the phone in one of the Oval Office scenes. And then you're like, oh, wow, I guess they did an AI generation of Liv Tyler's voice, or they got me to impersonate it or something. And then in the very final scene, where Harrison Ford is being visited in prison, and Sam Wilson is like, we'll get you out of here soon. Liv Tyler show, a 50-year-old Liv Tyler show.
Don't want to close my eyes. Don't want to fall asleep because I miss you, baby.
And I don't want an Incredible Hulk. The original title was New World Order. And reportedly it was I was a little too because that's a reserved term for conspiracy theorists and politically minded people. And I think it's supposed to be political intrigue. That's what made Winter Soldier interesting. It's a Tom Clancy novel. But I think maybe the rumors are that the script packed in too many culture war style stuff, and Disney like has just had a bad run of that, and they were like trying to get away from it. I heard something about they were going to do a January 6th sort of thing in the third act, like some kind of attack on the Capitol. Do you remember that, EJ?
The whole like the Copperhead Sidewinder people, that kind of group had more of a role, and they were goofier apparently.
You're still in it?
I am not a part of that film.
What happened?
The script went through a lot of rewrites and reshoots, and essentially my role got either repurposed or completely erased.
And so I guess they toned down that. And they brought in Giancarlo Esposito.
Hello, my name is Giancarlo Esposito.
To do reshoots. Like all of his scenes are reshoots. Like
they're like, we need this to be less goofy. It needs to be like Gus Fring or something. And
yes.
Just get Gus Fring.
Because get him to be sinister.
Did they get him?
Yeah, he's literally in it, but he's in it for like 5 minutes.
Oh.
He's in it for 5 minutes. He's in one-on-one scenes with Sam Wilson. So like all of his scenes feel very reshooty. They reshot all the scenes with the villain because he had like a comically large head and a goatee, and the test audiences thought that was goofy, so they made this even more awful like brain.
It looks like broccoli.
Yeah, exposed brain thing. And that guy's isn't that guy
He's in Incredible Hulk? Look, this is a sequel to the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie. Like, make no mistake about it. I probably should have rewatched that first.
I probably should have too. I did see it in theaters, but I've never seen it ever again.
But who the hell can remember that? I didn't even know for sure if that one was canon. Because Edward Norton, they got rid of him, and the Hulk looks different. But then Tim Roth as Abomination shows up in She-Hulk, so I was like, oh, I guess we're doing this. And Tony Stark shows up in that Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, the one thing I remember about that film was Tony Stark showing up in the end, and I guess he was supposed to be initially the one that was gathering up all the Avengers at first before they did Eye Patch Guy doing it.
Who the hell are you? Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
And then they changed their mind about that, and they were like, no, never mind. Tony doesn't want to be in the Avengers in the first place. It's
right. I remember thinking it was strange. I was like, oh, okay, so they definitely are decanonizing this.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was of the mind that Marvel had done everything possible to get people to forget about the 2008 Hulk movie, and now they make a fucking sequel to it.
Now they're going like, hey, general audiences, we really need you to remember the movie from 17 years ago. 17 years ago.
That's weird.
A movie that was bad.
Yeah.
That got recast and cut up to hell. Oh my God.
So, especially because Mark Ruffalo feels like such a different character than fucking Ed Norton, like it's like so it doesn't feel like the same, but they keep bringing back Thunderbolt Ross, I guess, and the other ones. And
yeah, they do. Kevin Feige was pretty public that Edward Norton was a real bitch on that movie, and that's why they fired him. He was just a big asshole. And I saw an interview with Edward Norton where he was pretty bummed that they recast him. Like he was really planning on it, but I think he thought he could have a lot of creative control or something. And
well, Edward Norton has a reputation for being difficult to work with, I suppose.
Yeah, don't they kind of like comment on that in Birdman? Like his character is sort of
yes. Birdman was a think piece on superhero films in general, I think, and Edward Norton used that as sort of a soapbox to complain about what happened to him on the Hulk. But if I'm being honest, and I think Edward Norton's a good actor, I didn't think he was that good in Hulk. I didn't think he was right for that role.
Kind of morose and
I think they cast him because he's small, so it would look more striking when he became big. And Edward Norton was a big name at the time, but I didn't think he was right for that role. And I think Mark Ruffalo did a really good job. I thought he was much better.
Yeah, well, he actually brought like a character to it.
Yeah.
So this movie, in a nutshell. You didn't see the Eternals, or you didn't see all this shit that's been happening.
I didn't even know there was a TV show. I didn't even know they did She-Hulk. Was that a movie?
That was a TV show as well.
Oh, yeah. How many TV shows have they done?
Oh God, they did She-Hulk, Loki,
Echo.
They did
Hawkeye.
Yeah, what was the one with what's his face, Poe from Star Wars?
Moon Knight.
Moon Knight. I almost called him Ghostface.
Goddamn, I was about to say they're Star Warsing the shit out of this now.
At first they were marveling the shit out of Star Wars, but now they're Star Warsing the shit out of Marvel.
It all came full circle.
But they're definitely pumping the brakes on all this stuff.
Yeah, they reached a saturation point. They were getting big diminishing returns to the audience, and the same is true for Star Wars stuff. It's one thing to have everybody hate the show. It's another for like every time a new one comes out, like nobody even cares to talk about it.
I think the last time I even heard anybody talk about a Star Wars show, and I haven't seen any of them, but the last time I heard anybody talk about those shows was the Obi-Wan Kenobi one, because they're like, we got Aiden back for it. And then everybody talked about that for like maybe a day, and then everybody forgot about it.
Yeah. Well, do you remember? I don't know if you saw recently, Tarantino made some statements on, I think he was kind of commenting on streaming, but just the general nature of like content development now is that like every movie has diminishing returns. Every movie gets forgotten about. There's no event viewing. And he was like, I didn't get into this industry to do this. He's like, it was bad in 2019 when I came out with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's really bad now. That's like one of the main reasons I'm exiting the industry is.
Yeah. He's like, I'm just going to take care of my kids and maybe I'll make a movie when they're older. I don't know.
I mean,
pump something out and let it flake apart, you know? And that's what this movie in a big, like there's all this talk about AI. Would anybody go see an AI film, an AI written film or an AI performed film? And I want it, like my instinct is, well, no, because definitionally art is about human expression. Even if somebody produced a song and it sounded just like a Taylor Swift song, if you found out that Taylor Swift didn't write it, then you'd instantly be disconnected from it. The Taylor Swift audience member would be disconnected from it.
Yeah.
And yet I watched this movie made money and people kind of liked it. A lot of movies have been bombing. Indiana Jones 5 bombed and the Marvels bombed and it's been a lot of bombs. This movie didn't bomb.
I mean, it didn't bomb, but the estimates are still rolling in, so we don't know exactly. But I think it did around the range of Ant-Man 3.
It's really important to me that Cap never finds out about this.
But like that was 2 years ago now, and people really hate movies now.
And also, there's been inflation, so it's.
Yeah, I would say that if what you say is true, because I haven't, as I say, I haven't seen a Marvel film in an age. But if they've been having bomb after bomb after bomb, even a mild success is going to seem like a recovery.
Yeah, it's an upturn. It tells us something. It tells us something about the audience, which is like, oh, maybe they just want a plain Jane from Portland, Maine action film starring Captain America.
I mean, all it really says at this point when we're filming this, which is we have one weekend, is that the diehard Marvel fans who will go out to see it the first week, they still like Sam Wilson as a character and they will still go out and see this. And they don't feel like it's an insult to them.
And Anthony Mackie as a star, probably.
Yeah.
And they didn't see it as an insult. And you know what? As far as anything that would like insult the audience beyond the fact that they made like a brain dead film, the movie seemed to want to respect the audience. It was interested in cutting it down to be a movie that wasn't divisive. Certainly, I remember a lot of the first reactions were like, you know, there's been a lot of rumors that this movie was really bad, and it's not. It's fine. That's my best review. It's fine. And when I heard that, I was like, fine ain't gonna cut it, bitch. Not when you're paying $15 to go to the movie theater and you're just gonna sleep through 2 hours and call it fine.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong that it has great word of mouth, which I don't think it does.
No.
And there won't be a huge drop off and it'll have legs for weeks because there aren't a lot of movies that are coming out. So it might. But I think after the fans who went out to see it, who aren't insulted and they watched it, they'll watch it. I think it's going to have a huge drop off. And just like Ant-Man, I think it's just going to have diminishing returns after this. And then it's going to be a film that, people are going to basically forget. And they definitely overspent. I don't care how many people are reporting that 180 million. They spent way more than that. And I think it's going to be another, just like, I guess it could have been worse. Let me
see if I can remember what the plot was. So there was this movie called The Eternals, and it was about these kind of like gods of Marvel. Remember Ego, the living planet from Guardians 2? He was a celestial. Well, they fight this celestial basically, and they freeze him or something. And he's like frozen in the Indian Ocean. And like that was 4 years ago that movie came out. There's been this meme that's like, when's Marvel going to get around to paying off the frozen space monster that's in the Indian Ocean? I keep doing this because his hand is sticking out.
Yeah, it's like a creature emerging because it's like the lore is like there's a celestial inside Earth and it was emerging. I think in the movie.
That's what it was. Yeah. And it's just one of the they've spun so many plates with all their TV shows and everything that like if you ever used to be able to follow the meta narrative, you just can't anymore. And so they'll set up these major events that happen that they fail to pay off. So this movie tries. This movie is the first one to acknowledge the celestial, and they're like, and through that event, the production of this new metal has been created called adamantium.
Oh,
and that's supposed to get you hard.
What is adamantium?
What's that?
What is adamantium?
What?
Oh, it's the metal that's in Wolverine's claws.
Wolverine's claw.
Oh, okay.
It's like the
his skeleton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, an impenetrable metal. And before they owned here's the inside bullshit. Before they owned Fox, they could never have said adamantium. Now Disney owns Fox, they can say adamantium.
Right.
Before it was all about vibranium, which was the metal that the Black Panther people had.
Okay.
And that's now what Sam Wilson's wings are made out of. This is the fucking action figure stuff that's in this movie. And there's a bunch of sleeper cells where if the song Mr. Blue plays, they start firing at the president. And one of them is Isaiah Bradley from the TV show, who is like a Tuskegee Airman type of character who got exploited by the United States. So he goes to jail for that.
He's like a forgotten super soldier, Captain America.
Oh, there's a whole thing too, Dan, about Sam Wilson refuses to take like super serum. This is something you would probably pick up on. He's got some self-consciousness, some insecurity around the fact that he's not superhuman. He's just a guy with vibranium wings.
Mm-hmm.
But every single action sequence is him flipping around and being completely a superhero, doing incredible. And so the action sequences in no way tell the story of that human insecurity that he has.
Yeah, he's ragdolling and flipping around. He's getting stabbed. He gets stabbed by Giancarlo Esposito, but he just like, I don't know, shrugs it off. I don't even know how.
Well, as you say that, without having not seen this film, that may have actually pissed me off. Because I've seen the trailers, and that person did not strike me as someone who's insecure about not being a superhero. And I would think that if you have a set of vibranium wings that can block a Hulk punch, you don't need a super serum. Right.
Right. I mean, sure, you can make him Iron Man. Iron Man was never insecure about not being a superhero. He had superhuman Iron Man. But the story was meant to be being the successor to Steve Rogers is a difficult thing.
Right.
It's difficult racially, and they told that story more in the TV show. And it's difficult from this whole, like, I'm literally not a superhero the way he is.
It is told more in the TV show. And in here, it's like, they talk about it, but it's not really there. It's not really in the movie.
Actually, you know what is his through line? What is Sam Wilson's, like, what's he trying to do in this movie?
Well, they're trying to introduce adamantium. and they want Thunderbolt Ross to ask for new Avengers.
Yeah, Thunderbolt Ross wants him to reassemble the Avengers.
Those are the two things this movie wants to accomplish. I don't think they give a shit about what Sam Wilson wants.
I ain't making no more tacos. I'm putting my beef in their tacos, baby. Everybody go eat some of this.
And then the guy who I certainly don't remember this from The Incredible Hulk. You're asking far too much of me. And I keep up with the shit better than the average person. But yes, there was some man in The Incredible Hulk that nearly died at the end of the film. And he's now become Broccoli Head. And so he now is super smart. And he's been giving Thunderbolt Ross gamma, which is turning him into the Red Hulk.
Because Thunderbolt Ross has always had heart problems in the MCU, and so so this smart guy has been giving him those pills for his heart, but he's actually like dosing him with gamma radiation.
There's a scene where Harrison Ford's like, he's on the plane, as is characteristic of Harrison Ford.
Get off my plane.
And he's on the phone with the Broccoli Head, and he's like, it was you all along. You poisoned my drink.
The poison works fast, Dr. Jones.
Like it was a parody. And the whole movie it's really trying to ape that Winter Soldier thing. And it's like, it's so far off it's just so low IQ.
Because it's about a super soldier who is framed, and it's that but worse. And like,
and speaking of Bucky, Bucky makes a quick appearance
in a reshoot,
like Sunday afternoon movie style blocking, where you can tell it definitely was pickups. They were watching this movie going, this is a fucking boring piece of shit. Can we at least get can we do a quick afternoon shoot where Bucky can be in it?
Yeah, they were like, Bucky and Sam's relationship was so good in Falcon and Winter Soldier, we're going to just drop it for most of the movie, realize it was a mistake, and do a pickup.
It's one of those scenes where like Sam Wilson's like in a hospital, like looking through like the glass at like somebody's surgery or something. Bucky's standing off to the side and he's like, hey, room for one more. I thought they didn't let you out of blah, blah, blah. It's totally one of those scenes. And
so you're running for Congress.
So I'm getting the sense that this movie was about very little. And what it was about was sort of about just the like fan stuff about like the vibranium stuff. Am I reading that right?
Well, yeah, that's all it manages to be. I think it's possible that it wanted to say something about fascism or democracy in its first pass, and they overruled it.
It sounds to me like the two conflicts that the new Captain America could have had is that he's not a superhero like Steve Rogers was, and the racial thing. He's a black Captain America. I would drop this not a superhero thing, because he's got a pair of fucking vibranium. if you've got an invincible super suit, you're a superhero. Anybody who was there in Endgame is a superhero. So yeah, that doesn't play. I can see a really good story being constructed out of, Steve Rogers was a great guy. He was a great hero. He was a good, down to earth, homegrown American. He was the whitest man on earth. And this new Captain America is a black man. And that is going to be perceived differently by society at large. That not necessarily.
That's very much in the TV show.
Yeah, they already did that story in the TV show.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's. I don't know if they did it well, but that's good to hear. I feel like
it was done pretty well. Yeah. I think one problem possibly is that the racial undertones were not really in the previous film, so it's a little bit, but
yeah, there's
like a scene with Brody where he's talking to him about, like, he makes an appearance in the TV show, and then you find out that there was a program, a pre-Steve Rogers program, where there was a Tuskegee style Captain America, is this guy named Isaiah Bradley, and they basically threw him away, and so now he's like in a dilapidated shack, thrown away by America.
Oh.
And he's telling Sam Wilson they'll never let a black guy be Captain America.
That's a good idea. I think that's the seed of an idea that could grow into a very thought-provoking film with a good through line for that character. And it kind of, what you're saying about the TV show kind of makes me want to check it out. But I think it's
the TV show has a better story for Sam Wilson than this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't save that for the film. That sounds like it could have been a good story.
That would be the problem, because if they did that again, and they sort of rehashed some of these points, but they do it very poorly and shallow, and it's cut to the bone.
Yeah.
I think it's possible that Thunderbolt Ross was supposed to be Donald Trump.
We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before.
No, Thunderbolt Ross was definitely supposed to be more villainous.
I think he was supposed to have been the Orange Hulk.
Orange Hulk bad.
I possibly.
They toned all that down. They brought in all that stuff with his daughter, I think, to make it a little more complex, so it wouldn't just be Orange Hulk bad.
Oh yeah, there's a whole thing about like he's trying to negotiate a treaty with Japan about adamantium. They're treating adamantium, Dan, as though it's like nuclear power, or the discovery of AI or something, where it's like, how do we democratize this before only one person has it?
Right.
So it's like a seed of an idea, kind of. But yeah, for some reason, Japan, like of all places, like Japan, like one of our allies, it was a little odd.
Because they wanted to choose the most inoffensive country.
Yeah, it may have been to try to remain inoffensive.
You honor us.
Don't patronize me.
I'm zeroing in on a few things here. It seems to me like they're spreading themselves too fucking thin with all these movies and all these shows, to the point where even their good ideas are kind of being wasted on something that no one's going to watch anyway. And then also, it seems to me like, they want to tell a story that has some kind of an important allegory or message in it, but they don't have the balls to really do it. So they'll say, "Nah, it's Japan. It's one of the nice countries. It's not. We're not going to."
It's true.
Yeah,
they had more balls. I mean, they were being. You could argue they were being hyper political for the last 5 years, and they've gotten a lot of pushback against it. And that may be the thing that inspired them to be like, let's just cut this thing down to the most inoffensive thing it can be. Captain America is an important IP to us.
I haven't kept up with Marvel in the last 5 years, so I wouldn't know about that. I assume that they were telling these stories badly. And that,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the fundamental problem.
It's like the thing where the message comes first, and then way down is actually making a good movie or film.
So the solution to that is write better. Don't just drop it.
No, you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Some of these ideas seem like good ideas. Just push the ideas through. Don't do them shitty, and have a better product.
And the thing is, I brought up you know, in Ahsoka, the TV series of a Star Wars TV series, you have this tactician with Thrawn. He's supposed to be so smart, and so he can foresee everything, and you think you've defeated him, but he actually thought of like 10 steps ahead of you. But they couldn't write that because the writers were too stupid. And you get the same thing here with this brain guy. Is he I don't know.
Yeah, the whole his superpower is how smart he is, but the writers aren't very smart.
Yeah, the writers aren't very smart. So it's like in the Ahsoka TV series, like Thrawn was failing all the time, and he was just like, I meant to do that, but it's like, I don't believe it.
Shit.
I was wondering why I didn't see the broccoli face in any of the marketing, and but they put Red Hulk all over it. Now I understand one of those is more marketable than the other, but I'm just curious to why like they hid the broccoli head was the villain. I'm like, what's the big fucking deal? But they put like Gus Fring on the poster, you know?
Well, that's why they brought him in.
Yeah. I did not see that poster. If I had known Gus Fring was going to be in this, I would have seen it, even if it was bad. I'll
and then you would have been disappointed because he's not in it.
So, I know. Yeah, that would have pissed me off if he's in it for like 2
You watched
seconds.
Better Call Saul? Did you get through Better Call Saul?
Better Call Saul is the best television show I've ever seen in my life. I've seen every season multiple times. Yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Good.
Excellent.
So good.
Excellent writing. Excellent everything. Vince Gilligan, the creator, he's doing a new television show with
Ray Seahorn.
Ray Seahorn. Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be in the show, and it's going to be a sci-fi show, I guess, which could mean anything. Vince started out he was a staff writer on the X-Files, so he's done that kind of sci-fi. I don't know if he's going to go hard sci-fi. If he does, oh my God, I'm fucking down for that.
Whatever he wants, I'm there, man. And Peter Gould. Peter Gould is pretty special.
Yes,
too.
I always, whenever I talk about Vince, I always want also to mention Peter Gould, because it's very easy to think of Vince as like the one reason why those shows were good. But Peter, he was 50% of why Better Call Saul was that good.
No.
I got to meet him. He was he spoke to a group of us at the Austin Film Festival when my movie was there.
Wow.
There was a group of us that got to meet with him because he was visiting at the festival. I remember I asked him a question about like the way, you know, one of the things I think is so impressive about the way that they wrote Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul was there was almost like this law of conservation in their writing, where if they planted a seed, they never abandoned the seed. You know what I mean? Like if Saul Goodman says like, oh, I know him, I know a guy who knows a guy who knows another guy, it's a throwaway comedy line, and then they paid it off and they explained the entire, you know, or if Mike Ehrmantraut played like a 1-bit character who is just there to clean up the mess of like a murder, but then it's like, well, we can do more with that character, and where did that character come from? And they're always curious. They're always like, let's take the thing we already did and see how far we can push it.
I cannot believe that there was one line that you might remember if you've seen Breaking Bad as many times as I have, when they have Saul in the desert and he thinks that other people sent them. He doesn't know who they are yet. And he says, it wasn't me, it was Ignacio. And then Lalo didn't send you? And that these are just names that, for all we know, Odenkirk came up with off the top of his head. And they turn out to be the most important characters in the next show that he does. And it all ties back perfectly to what he was saying.
They define an entire series. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. That show's fucking Shakespearean, man. I swear to fuck.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's so good. I miss it terribly. I remember, especially the final seasons of Saul and Breaking Bad, I was just being like on the edge of my fucking seat for every second of it.
Yeah.
And I as I get older, I struggle to stay attentive to shows.
There's not many shows to be attentive to, like, really.
Yeah. But those are the shows where I'm like, I know that the creators have thought about every frame. And so I'm interested in every frame, you know. Is there anything else to say about this? I met one of our friends on Discord said, he was like, man, that whole movie was shot for coverage. And what that means is like, if you shoot a scene for coverage, you're just getting kind of the nuts and bolts of the scene. If there's two people talking, you know, get medium shots of both people talking, get a wide shot of both people talking, just shoot it in such a way that there's no way you will ever get stuck when you're editing it.
Right.
Whereas a more artful kind of Kubrickian way of shooting would be like this very deliberate, you know, a real vision behind every one of your shot choices. This movie is, so the whole movie feels like it was shot for coverage. It feels like a second unit or a third unit shot the movie. So it's like uninspired is really the word, unfortunately.
I'm picking up from you that you didn't like this film.
No, this movie
Okay.
sucks ass.
Okay. That's where I wanted
Yeah.
to get you. Yeah. Okay.
This movie sucks complete ass. I'm very, very unimpressed.
Okay.
It's very much in the same vein as the Marvels, where they had some other movie, they probably reshot it a bunch of times, and then it was cut down to tolerable, boring movie.
It's trying to make it so that the sharp edges are dull, so it doesn't cut anybody, and just get it out there and move past it because they just know they didn't make a very good film. Not every MCU movie from Iron Man to Endgame was a perfect film, and like Thor 1 is not a great movie, but Thor is a great character, and so you were able to do more with him as time went on. And so you don't have to be perfect, but man, when every movie is one of these situations,
I would prefer Thor 1 over any of these.
yeah, well, sure, yeah.
And the CG has gotten worse. Like, I don't know, because I don't think these battle sequences, they actually reshot much. Like, I think these were the battle sequences that they wanted, but it's just, everything just looks so bad.
Well, I get the impression, my impression from the final, they fight, at the White House and on the cherry blossoms. I got the impression that when they were on the lawn, that was all, I mean, there was almost no human beings in that scene. That was all CG. Like, because Captain America puts on like a helmet, like a pilot's helmet, because he flies around a lot. And so you can just CG him entirely. There's no human. So that's convenient. So there were times where you wouldn't have had to go out and reshoot. You just rush through some more VFX. You always hear about how the VFX houses on these things are given insane, impossible deadlines because they get last minute changes and changes of mind. Because I don't know if you ever heard this, Dan, the way that Marvel has always worked, supposedly, says Feige, is that they kind of put things into production before they have them entirely figured out. And they kind of figure out the movie like while they're shooting it. And then they have this, they over budget for pickups. They expect that they will want to reshoot lots of the film every single time.
I think that's been pretty evident from like Iron Man 2 on, where they have an outline, but they don't really know, they know what's going to go where, but they don't necessarily know what those movies are going to be yet. I think the problem that Marvel is having now, and I'm saying this completely uneducated because I haven't seen any Marvel films past Endgame, is that it used to be, we're going to make standalone films that allude to what's coming next every single time. And every single film has to have those allusions, just have at least like 6 clues as to what's going to come after this. And it's all leading up to Endgame. So Endgame is the end. Now what are they alluding to? Every single film is just another Marvel film, and it doesn't seem to me like they're going anywhere.
They've kind of changed their minds each time. They were headed in a direction. They were headed in this direction with
Jonathan Majors.
They were going to do this character Kang, this guy who lives in every single version of the multiverse, and he's terrorized every version of the multiverse. And then the guy got domestic abuse charges and stuff, and they had to fire him. So they were like going in that direction, not proficiently, but they were going.
Yeah, in Ant-Man 3, there was a coliseum full of Kangs, and they all died going to their home planet.
There's been a number of Poochies.
Oh,
Marvel has screwed the Poochies.
Shit.
A number of times.
Like in Shang-Chi, like when's the last time we heard about Shang-Chi?
I hope he's doing well wherever he is.
Boy, I tell you, they picked the best time possible to fire James Gunn. This sounds like they're just like hitting him out of the park these days.
That's why Guardians 3 is so successful. Is it relies on nothing. They're telling their own story. It's wrapping up its own trilogy. Wonderful movie. I mean, that's one not to miss for sure. Like it'll pull at the heartstrings too. It's like what cinema's made for. Oh, well, just one. So I saw the trailer to Thunderbolts, which is it's like Black Widow's sister, some forgotten villains from past movies like Ant-Man 2 and the Black Widow movie and the Black Widow fake dad. There's a lot of Black Widow from that one Black Widow movie that came out during COVID, and Bucky's in it as well. The movie may or may not be good. I mean, their track record's been poor, but I thought the trailer had a lot more charisma than this fucking thing did. I thought, at least. I don't know. Did you see it, EJ? Did it do anything?
No, I didn't see that. I saw the Fantastic Four trailer, which that feels like they wanted to make a movie and they made it, like, cause I've never heard any drama about Fantastic Four. Like I even hear about reshoot. Like Captain America has been delayed. It's been reshot. You've heard about it in all the stories. But like Fantastic Four, it's like, oh, we're filming it. Okay, it's done. Here's a trailer. And it's like, and I see the trailer. I'm like, oh yeah, that seems like a movie somebody wanted to make. So I don't know. There's something about the I'm not sure if it'll do well because I don't think anybody really actually cares about the Fantastic Four.
Well, how many times have they tried to make the Fantastic Four into a film and it just fell flat on its ass? They might have a chance now that it's got, Disney behind it, although the way the state Marvel is in right now, who knows? I do think it's very telling that EJ was describing this process and as a novelty said, oh yeah, we made a movie and here's a trailer of the movie and this is what the movie's going to be. And that's like these days, that's unusual.
It's a novelty for Disney Marvel. That's a novelty.
Yeah. That's very telling.
Yeah, Lucasfilms, it would be the same sort of idea.
Yeah.
Like, we just wanted to make this, and we did.
Are you currently using steroids?
No, ma'am.
When's the last time you injected?
Monday. I think they messed me up.
But don't worry, we can change all that. That's what we specialize in here. Penis magic.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.